Hello, everybody. Today we're going to talk about an interesting proposal out of Florida by Governor Ron DeSantis. He's throwing out the idea that maybe Florida will get rid of property taxes. That's right, you heard that right. No more property taxes potentially in Florida. But how would that even work? Where is the money going to come from? And is this a game changer or a total disaster waiting to happen? So stick around and we're going to talk about the pros and the cons and what that means, especially if you are retired or planning to retire in Florida, or maybe this will catch on to other states. So let's first of all play a short clip from DeSantis where he talks about why they're doing this. There you go. Okay, so that's part of the proposal. I've always thought it was kind of crazy that property taxes are a tax that you can't get rid of even if you own your own home. If you own your own home outright, especially if you're older, if you're a retiree, you pay off your home. You take 30 years, maybe 15 years if you're lucky to pay off your home, but then you still have that property tax forever. So in where the area where I live, property taxes are about $5,000 to $6,000 on average homes. The national average is about 2,700. We'll go into those stats in just a second. Some homes it's 20 to $30,000 for a big house. If your house is paid off, then you always have that tax. You can't escape the tax, and that is a drag on retirees. It's a drag on their income because they have to make that $5,000 from their pension or their fixed income every year, and if you're not retired yet, then you'll have to do that as well to always be paying your property taxes. So Governor DeSantis is voicing support to get rid of property taxes entirely, and he called them oppressive and ineffective in a post. And he's backing the Senate bill SB 852. And he says that the bill doesn't kill property taxes outright just yet. It's more of a starting point, and it calls for the Florida Office of Economic and Demographic Research to figure out how to make it happen and what it would mean for the state. So they're not scrapping it entirely. Don't get your hopes up. They're just looking into it. But where does that money come from that is usually funding the schools? Property taxes, majority across the nation will fund schools and community programs, and they have to make sure that that funding comes from somewhere else. And he said that the property taxes are handled by local governments and not the state. So for them to be able to pull this off, Florida needs a constitutional amendment, which means getting 60% of the residents to say yes to a state nationwide vote or statewide vote. So it's probably not going to be happen. But it's an interesting idea being proposed about taxes, not just Florida and property taxes, but President Trump talking about potentially getting rid of the IRS, getting rid of income tax, which started in 1913. It was only supposed to be the very top earners, and it was a very low percentage to start out, and now it's pretty much everybody that pays income tax. So these ideas are being floated by state governments and federal officials looking at taxes, taking a second look at taxes and looking at, are these the kind of taxes that we should be paying? I'd love to hear your opinions about property taxes, about the IRS, and about income taxes in general. What is your feeling? Should we be paying more taxes? Are tariffs going to be enough to cover the taxes so we can get rid of the income tax? And that's how it was in the beginning of the United States from about 1860 to 1913. Everything was paid for from tariffs, and then we slowly got away from that. And now the tariffs are low and the taxes are high. Should we reverse that? Give me your comments down below. So why do property taxes matter? So this is a big deal because property taxes are a major cash cow for local governments in Florida. They bring in over $40 billion, according to some estimates, and fund things like schools, police, fire departments, roads, and parks. So, for example, the city of Jacksonville, more than half the budget comes from property taxes and 73% of school district revenue. So that is a big gap to fill. You'd have to replace it with something else. So what would you replace it from? So the Senate bill says there are a couple of options. Well, there are three options. One, raise the sales tax. Florida's current sales tax is 6%. And you could add on, and then there's a couple of add-ons. So averages out to about 7%. You would need to double that, almost double that to 12%, and making that the highest in the country. There are states that are pretty near that already. So maybe it wouldn't be that dramatic. Option number two is budget cuts. And Florida and other states right now are really focused on cutting the wasteful spending. And he's already organized a task force to streamline the government, cut redundant staff, and even axe over 70 state boards. And maybe local governments could take that lead and cut some of their wasteful spending as well. And option number three is consumption tax, like they have in Europe. So think about taxes on luxury goods like jets and stocks and mansions and fancy cars. And DeSantis has floated this idea before, but really never followed through on it. So this study that they're going to do, it's going to look at how they can replace property taxes with other kind of taxes. So they're just shifting and hopefully cutting. So let's talk about the pros and the cons. The pros of the plan is, number one, homeowner relief, especially if you're a retiree, own a home in Florida. No property taxes could save you a lot of money every single year. In Florida, the average property tax is $2,400. So that is a boost, $2,400 every year that you don't have to pay. Number two, it would make Florida more attractive for buyers and businesses because people would want to move there even more. Florida has seen a large influx of people, mostly from California, going to Florida and Texas because they don't have a state income tax and they have a very vibrant economy. So lowering the taxes even more for housing makes housing more affordable and makes Florida even more attractive. And pro number three is that it just makes everything simpler. Property taxes can feel unfair, especially if the value of your home goes up and then you're kind of looking at, are you being taxed fairly? Is my home really worth that much, even though I'm not selling it? So the value of the home could be going up through forces that are outside of your control. Maybe the area is being developed and the value goes up, which means your taxes go up. So as your taxes are going up, is your income going up to compensate? If you're a retiree, do you have to take on more risk to pay for those taxes? And supporters argue that this could push local governments to be more lean and more efficient and more careful with their budget. So what is the con? There are plenty of pushback from people, and for good reason. Con number one is funding chaos. What happens to all the schools and the cops and the firefighters? How do they keep running? And critics say that doubling the sales tax or cutting the budgets could mean that the schools will suffer. Number two is higher sales tax hits hard. It hits hard for the lower income because they're the ones that are proportionally are hit more with the higher taxes. And number three, economic risk. Property taxes are very stable. Sales taxes aren't. So in a recession, people spend less. And that revenue could tank in a recession if revenue is coming from mostly consumption. And so it's risky. Property taxes are very predictable, which may be a bad thing because the property taxes are so predictable that these states and local governments know that they can count on that money coming in every year, which could be good, but it could also be bad because it's less incentive for them to cut some of those taxes. And then number four is the local control takes a hit. So the cities and counties rely on property taxes for autonomy to not have to rely so much on the state, and they'd have to rely more on the state. So people are on both sides of this issue because some think it's a good idea, some think it's a bad idea because it's complicated. And it's tricky when you consider that 60% of voters have to pass it. North Dakota had a similar idea last year and they shot it down. It didn't pass. It didn't pass the 60%. So the study's due on October 1st, so we won't see an actual proposal till then. So this is a bold idea. So let's see it. Let's see where it goes. But I think it's interesting to look at because it makes us think more about our taxes, how our taxes are being spent, and should we be taxed on our home? That's one reason why more and more people are renting, because taxes are getting more, our houses are getting more and more expensive, and the taxes are going up, which adds to that expense. So maybe an idea like this will bring home affordability down, which is desperately needed around the country. So if you think that this video was interesting, gave you some things to think about regarding taxes, then please subscribe to the video, give this video a like, and check out, I don't know if I'll have another video up here, but check it out if there is one, and go sign up for the newsletter at morningdownload.com, where we have a daily newsletter that brings you all the personal finance and economic news and tips on how to grow your wealth. See you next time.